And it is showtime. Hello, everybody. How we doing out there? Oh, come on. How late was I? Let's see. 3 minutes late, and you guys are already worried? I didn't drop dead that badly. So, anyway, yeah, I'm going on a little early today. Who the hell cares? Well, I do. Um, it is the Nightmare Cast because I have been suffering from nightmares. Unfortunately, I should be writing today, but I am not writing. And why am I not writing? Because I had a horrible, horrible night's rest due to nightmares. Worked for about half the day, passed out, awoke from nightmares. I'm in no headspace to actually get anything on the paper, unfortunately. Had a really good day yesterday, so I figure, you know what? Let's get some distance from those nightmares and just talk to the talk to the chat, hang out with you guys for a little bit. That should snap me out of it to some degree, hopefully. Um, yeah, that's about it. Let's see. Oh, I'm big into arriving on time. Call it OCD. Hey there, Star Storyteller. We've missed you. I am very sorry. I wanted to DM you at some point. I saw your tweet about your marriage, and I'm really sorry to hear that. That's a really rough go. I hope you're doing okay. If drop me a DM anytime if you need to chat. Okay. Hey there, Casca. I have not gotten back to you yet, but I did read what you sent me, and for a drunk writing, that was pretty good. I love the concept, honestly. I mean, you'd have to take it away from Transformers. Do you mind if I share with the chat the concept you came up with? Otherwise, I'll just leave it as I really like it. It's clever. So you give me the okay if I can share the idea. If not, I'll leave it at that. It's okay. WhiteKnight Leo. I'm starting to get the impression that Hunter Biden left his laptop at the shop intentionally. He seems really bitter toward his pop. At that point, who the hell knows? I mean, keep in mind, he is a spoiled brat who's been given everything in his life has been given to him. He's never really had to work hard for anything. He's never had to be held accountable for anything. And he's a crackhead. You know, those types of people tend, get all those personality traits all pushed together. They tend to be highly irresponsible people. And I would knock it up to he is just an utter and complete fuck up. WhiteKnight Leo. I also read your Grease Crank book. It's well written, but not enough of the Lovecraft fan to enjoy it. A little too Lovecraftian for your taste. I was kind of hoping it would be approachable because of the main story being about Charlie and Wilbur just having a horrible, horrible day. But yeah, I know there's a lot of in jokes in there for the Lovecraftian fans. I mean, all the stuff with the kids show that Wilbur creates for his regular day-to-day. For those who have not read the book, a large portion of the book is a public access station in my Death War Grease Paint. It's about a TV clown who has a show on local public access, and every night, every afternoon, he goes on TV, and once he starts getting into the Lovecraft Cthulhu cult, he starts integrating elements into the show. And yeah, there are a lot of in jokes. The Octopus King, especially being one of them. And yes, he enters Cthulhu as a dressed up character in the show. Let's see. I just wanted to know if my drunk Transformer story that I wrote in 5 minutes is better than paid benefit. Yeah, it actually is. No, the idea itself for a premise is very clever. I mean, honestly, you could remove the idea from Transformers itself and write it anyway, and it still works. In fact, you don't really even need the transforming robot part. Just make it the robots. anything is just better than feminist writing. Feminist writing is pretty awful, especially since so many of them cling to this anti-structuralist notion. So, they don't believe in proper punctuation or paragraph structure or story arc, scene progression, 3-act structure, anything that really makes a story and accessible to someone to understand. It's like saying that you were going to write a Spanish play and then decide to write it in German and then be surprised that no one understands it or enjoys it. All right. Wolf Media. Yeah, today I'm nearly finished. It's a Red Riding Hood themed furry art. Hey, I got a question for you, Wolf. In terms of sci-fi, and you may not know this, I'm just asking, is there like a universal term for human-animal hybrids that people use? Is it just hybrids or animin or moros? You tell me, is there a universal term for animal-human hybrids? And I'm not talking furries here. Okay. Casca, by the way, I was finally told that I'm COVID-free and can go back to work tomorrow. So you actually got COVID, and you're one of the few people I've actually come across to actually have COVID. Is it the nightmare flu that everyone describes? Were you on the verge of death? Okay. Coming to you from the great state of Georgia, it is your favorite magic man who spends more money on anime figures and games. On anime figures and games, the arch wizard and part-time paranormal investigator, Rico Flores. Okay, everybody give him a hand. Maybe we could do how we decided we're going to change Adventures in Awful to a gong show format where we're just going to go through the books till we can't handle them anymore. What if we actually did sort of a gong show format where we brought 3 judges on and, well, I guess I'd be one of them. And then Kat reads and we have to gong it, where we hit the point where it's no longer tolerable. And then the next question is, how many of you out there actually know what the hell the gong show is? I mean, it was primarily an entity of the 1970s, but it did have a brief revival in the 90s, which wasn't quite as good because you needed the perversity of the 70s for it to really work. And in the 90s, TV started going for that politically correct shit for a while. And yeah. But it's strange because at the same time in the 90s, during the political correctness fad, we also had the show Studs, which was about as politically incorrect as you could get, along with Jerry Springer. So I don't know. Cesario JPN. Yeah. A lot of people are not being notified of the streams anymore. So if you could share, that would be very appreciated. Hey, take care, Star Storyteller. You take care of yourself, all right? There really needs to be an amateur hour, though. Seriously. You mean for this show? There's hybrid, spliced. Oh, I like that. Splicer, chimera, anthropomorphism, beastmen. I kind of like that. Skinwalker, and in the case of Heat Guy J, beast heads. That's a little odd. Sounds more like a slur, doesn't it? I won't use hybrid because in sci-fi that can mean all sorts of things. Spliced and splicer. Well, splicer is someone who does the splicing, so it would be spliced. Chimera, problem again with sci-fi is that usually refers to genetic engineering, and a chimera is actually a hybrid cell or DNA, hybrid DNA, not the result of hybrid DNA. So again, iffy. Anthropomorphism is more of a description. Beastmen, like skinwalkers, are supernatural. So yeah, I think I like spliced and beastmen best. Mad TV. Mad TV was like the one real standout of that era, wasn't it? I mean, it was actually funny. Whereas SNL just kept getting more and more dull. Mad TV wasn't afraid to be really offensive. Victoria Fagbile. J.Ishiro, have you heard what's happened to Chris Pratt and the Marvel cast defending him? I heard Doomcock, oh yes, Lord Doomcock, the future ruler of Earth, that's what he thinks. Little does he know he has to go to war with the Reptoids first. But yeah, I heard him talk about it a little bit, that Pratt refuses to be anti-Trump, and just for being non-verbal about his politics, they want him canceled. And I am glad the Marvel cast is defending him. Okay. I was born, doxing incoming, a few years before the Gong Show went off the air. Okay, so you're Gen X. Well, wait, which Gong Show? 90s or 70s? Because, I mean, if it's the 70s one, it means you were born probably in 1980 or something. Yeah, the new Gong Show was not nearly as good because you needed the host. I forget the name of the host of the Gong Show. The original Gong Show, let me get his name. He is a very, very interesting, Chuck Barris. Chuck Barris is an interesting guy. He came up with a number of very popular games. The Newlywed Game was another one of his. Wrote a few songs. Very talented man. And as host of the Gong Show, we could never tell if it was an act or if he really was that drunk. But as he was hosting it, he always had this kind of smiling drunk thing going, and it was hilarious. Of course, the crazy thing is it turns out a lot of people dispute it, but it comes off as a little too legit. And I've talked to people in the CIA who agree. Chuck Barris wrote a book talking about how while he was hosting the Gong Show, he was actually a operative for the CIA doing hit jobs and other jobs overseas. And either he is an exceptionally good writer to write something so convincing that CIA operatives said, yeah, this is real, or he really was a hitman for the CIA during that time. But there's a film called, I believe it's called A Dangerous Mind. Not Dangerous Minds, ignore that one. It's called A Dangerous Mind, about Chuck Barris. It is a great film. Also, read the book. Fascinating. It's very funny, but also very creepy. Let's see. Okay, so you never got sick. There you go. So essentially, you had the virus in your bloodstream, but it didn't do anything to you. This is so bullshit, man. I mean, the only person I know who got COVID is a distant cousin of mine who is an alcoholic who I think he's collapsed one of his lungs. He had a heart attack because he was dumb enough to get shit drunk and jump in a jacuzzi. So he's got an extremely weak heart. And because of his chewing tobacco habit, he rotted. Apparently his jaw is barely held on by bone. And he survived COVID easily. Now, if someone that fucked up can get through COVID easily, how bad is it? Seriously. I don't wear a mask. Unless I have to wear it in a store, I don't wear masks. It's just stupid. The first 3 seasons of Mad TV wouldn't be aired today. Yes, and that is why Kat and I purchased them. We have them on DVD because we kind of knew we were never going to see them ever again otherwise. Does anyone remember the skit about the Christian heavy metal band called Bible? And there were the 3 girls who were the Bible groupies. Just kind of a passing thought. No, the early days of Mad TV were fantastic. Never went back to SNL after them. Yeah. I mean, there was, to this day, Kat and I will bring up the Dixie Wentworth skit and just make vague references to it because it was just so bizarre. Or that same comedian. She also had the character that was the woman with the smoker's voice, and essentially she was oh she essentially was like one of those I forget the name. Oh, a tormentor demon. She did the same thing as the classic tormentor demon. She'd show up at people when they were at the worst place in their life and encourage them to do things even worse. Oh yeah, I miss that. I miss that show. That show was good. Or when Ice-T was on and he got into the Pimp Daddy battle with Bob Dole. Yes, yeah, strange but good. JC, I got COVID back in February. Thought it was strep throat. Went and got antibiotics, squashed the symptoms, but had trouble breathing. 2 to 3 weeks after. Or is that 2 to 3 weeks, or is that 2/3 of a week? I'm sorry, I can't tell. Gangster barbershop rap. Yeah. Or Son of Dolomite was good. Dandy Spike, aka Hack. Speaking of writing, I've delved into doing more scripted videos rather than rambling into the microphone. Hope this will help me get used to the writing as a skill. I miss doing scripted videos, but to be honest with you, there just isn't the time for it. And frankly, I enjoy the interactivity with you guys. I mean, granted, I do miss the really nicely polished, well-produced stuff. But as I've already explained, it really sucks putting all this effort into a thing that's just going to get pulled 2 days later. There you go. I know the Gong Show from the movie about the creator, Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. Yeah, that is such a good film. Beastheads in this is Wolf 10. Beastheads in Heat Guy are criminals who were hybridized into animals. Animal heads to remind them of their crimes they commit. That's interesting. Their bodies are the same though, but are enhanced. Chuck Barris. Oh, thank you, John. How's it going, John? Bree never wanted to help, but if you open the door for her, she will call you a sexist. Now suddenly over a year later, they were supposed to protect her. Yeah. She has no redeeming qualities, seriously. I mean, you can't even say put up with her because she's hot, because she's not. All right, what do we got here? Yeah, the movie is funny. It's very funny. It's creepy too, but it's very funny. And it's a pretty good window into the 70s, at least the whole LA Hollywood scene of the 70s at the time. Oh, it was the 70s. Everybody drank and smoked on those celebrity game shows and talk shows. Yeah, they did. But I don't know. There was kind of the 70s, from what I remember vaguely. Keep in mind, I was very, very little. And then it was looking back upon those years. I got kind of the general sense that after the 60s failed to bring in the idealist to hippie utopia, that they realized sex, drugs, and rock and roll and gathering at Woodstock wasn't going to change the world. Everybody kind of gave up. And it was kind of like the hangover after the party, and everyone was still going, oh, come on, man. Come on. We can still party. It's still going on. And it was, everyone was drunk, high, and going to key parties. Meanwhile, the country's falling apart and everyone's really depressed. Of course, that's what I remember of it, at least. Cesario JPN. It was the 70s version of Shiro. Caught some repeats here and there on TV. Compilation shows. Yeah, I don't think they can license the whole show because of variety shows are hard to license, by the way, because you have to track down everybody. That's why I think Ed Sullivan's never had a legit release. But I caught the lollipop girls get, or do you mean the big the it wasn't lollipops. They were sucking on those bomb pops, weren't they? That was good. Yeah, that was pretty damn funny. You had, I think you commented in the last show I did. You said you had comments on a subject I was talking about. Bring them up. Gene, the dancing machine is my personal Jesus. Oh, what about the what is it? The unknown comic. Um, all right. I wouldn't be wearing a mask here in South Florida if I wasn't required in stores and my boss at the office. And by my boss at the office, that sucks, man. I find them really uncomfortable. And as we all know, unless you're wearing an N95 mask or up, it doesn't do anything. It just makes people around you feel safe. It's completely a visual thing. Or you're essentially being forced to do something, and it makes certain politicians feel good. Planning to have Victoria Fagbile. I'm planning to have female main protagonist, but now I'm hesitant because I'm worried some people will not read stories involving female protagonists because they will think it'll be woke like with Cat. Well, yeah, I hate to say it. It really bothers me. I mean, it absolutely bothers me that this day and age, that's where I'm at. If I see a book written after 2000, roughly, I will enter it with real trepidation whether I'd even want to bother with it. After 2010, I won't even bother. After 2000, I'll give it a look, maybe. After that, 2010, forget it. The chances of it having anything I want to read is very, very slim. When I get my Cyberpunk source code website to its full glory, I hopefully will be able to dive into modern books and start weeding stuff out. Again, because you can't find shit on Amazon anymore, so I'm creating a site where if you want to find something, you'll have a very, very easy way to find it and a link directly to it. But as far as female protagonists, there are some ways to get around that. They're not easy, but there are ways to get around that. And primarily, it's if you can do something on the cover or in the description that from the outset shows it's not going to be woke. That is about the only thing you can do. Or if you get in with the circle of conservative writers and then you're known as a conservative writer and people will say, oh, okay, she's cool, don't worry about it. Like J.G. Lamplighter or the names should come to me a bit quicker right now, but they're not. Like I said, I've been having nightmares, and that's why I'm on air right now, is because I'm not thinking too clearly. But tell me, what kind of story do you have in mind? What are you writing? Maybe I can help. Because we need female protagonists that don't suck. We really, really do. I mean, right now, unfortunately, when I see books, if it's written by a woman, I'm just like, oh, great, this is going to be woke preaching. And if it's written by a dude, it usually comes in two breeds. It's a soy boy writing a woke female character, and it's even more preachy. Or it's a guy writing his masturbation fantasy. And I hate to put it that way, but that tends to be the two characters I see now. And I would say lit RPG is probably the worst offender. We can get Fiona to talk about that, I'm sure. I know 3 people who got the Rona. First was my aunt, the other was a friend's mom, and another happened to be the son of one who was my mom's employer. All alive and doing well. Okay, so it seems people are getting it, but nobody's talking about death or just it being, the hell disease. I recommend Jimmy's Bastards. It's basically James Bond comic where the abandoned children of James Regent, the Bond equivalent of the story, become villains with their own motives being abandonment. That's clever. That is really clever. I like that. I'm writing that down now. Speaking of my cyberpunk source code online, um, I can now say that the pages for proto cyberpunk novels and first wave 80s cyberpunk novels are absolutely complete. All the links in the database are active and will take you to a synopsis of the book, an image of the book cover, and a link to buy it on Amazon if you so desire. And if I've read the book, it also includes a rating. Later, I will include reviews for every one of these, but it's going to take time. Let me just get the database going first. And if any of you have read any of these books and would like to either submit a review or whatever, let me know. Because there are ones that I'm just not going to be able to get to. And I'm really hoping I don't have to read Snow Crash. Because really, somebody who likes Snow Crash should read it and review it. I shouldn't. The 70s started with the Days of Rage. Bombings slid into the oil embargo, the end of ending in stagflation. I can't blame everyone for being a bit let down. Yeah. And, all their, well, frankly, all the left-wing policies and, socialism light that they tried to usher in during that era just made it worse. And it's kind of weird they didn't learn. Of course, I had to watch California collapse before I learned. So, I mean, in the 90s in San Francisco, I already was sick of the left. But it wasn't until I saw California just slide into the ocean that I realized, you know what? They're just completely full of shit. Clearly I need to start seeing what the other side has to say. And I was amazed to find just how right the other side was, And what I mean is I found all these various claims that I'd been told all my life weren't true, and I researched them. And the thing that got me was someone who had always been portrayed as a nut, like Michelle Malkin, who, let's face it, her on-camera persona could use some work. She's a bit of a rabid dog when you get her started. Didn't matter. Her investigative journalism was true. I looked into it. I double-checked it. I fact-checked what she was claiming. It was all correct. And I kept running into that where people who may not have the best camera presence, who had been portrayed as nuts, I would read up and I would dig in and try to find the facts, especially after the fact. You had the hindsight of history to see if they'd been proven right or not. Lo and behold, more often than not, they were right. Shiro, did you hear about Cyberpunk 2077? Cosplayers got heat for doing an energy drink girl by SJWs because a cis white female told them to fuck off. She was Russian, by the way. That's what I like about Russian women. They're not feminist and they don't give a fuck. In fact, Russian women will hit you if you get on their bad side. Don't piss off a Russian woman, which is kind of like, how we have that stereotype of fiery Puerto Rican women. And, granted, that's kind of hot, but that there's a stereotype about fiery Puerto Rican women. Russian women are similar, but it's like they burn cold and then they explode. And there's a reason that Russian female assassins are considered the best in the world. Basically, what I'm saying is don't piss off Russian women. But as far as the energy girl thing, God, whatever. Fuck the SJWs, and I'm glad she told them to fuck off. Also, my lower back hurts after working an odd job and loading some inventory for an Asian market that's next door to the guitar shop. Got $100 for it though. Worth it. Yeah, actually, that is worth it. And hey, I can sympathize. I've been spending the evenings packing and lifting boxes, and pretty soon I'm going to be putting them in a truck. That's, let's see, we start in a week. Right now we're just boxing, but we'll finally get the keys in a week. And we'll start shipping stuff, putting stuff in the garage while painting, which will be, frankly, I don't like painting. Kat's totally into it. She loves that kind of thing. I am not in any rush to paint a house. Going to be on the road for a bit. Don't know if I'll reach home before the end of the stream. Figured out what I'd commented on. That's Cesario. Wolf, me being an asthmatic, making me feel constricted every time oh, yeah, that sounds pretty rough. So, so I'm reaching the bottom of the chat here. Anybody want to join me? I know you're out there, John, or you were. Do you want to come on, John, or is it kind of a bad night? Let's see. Anybody else that hasn't been a guest? I mean, John always gets to be a guest. Sorry. If John wants on, he gets on. But, if anybody else wants on, let me know. And I will either DM you or email you a link, and we'll get going. Because, hey, Eldon, it's been a while. How you doing? How's the comic going? Is it back on track? Ricky Joya, I've been finding myself visiting the Cyberpunk source codes website more and more often. Good. I'm glad. I mean, it makes me glad to know that people are seeing the work I'm putting into it. And I mean, the updates to it are pretty rapid. I do a little bit every day, and it's coming together a lot quicker than I thought. While none of the links work in the music section, I've been beginning to really dive into that one as well. I'm looking forward to and dreading doing manga and anime, because I know that is going to be a gigantic entry. I mean, film and TV won't be so rough. I mean, the most difficult thing for the TV section is going to be the 90s, when there was just this glut of really horrible B movies that were all cyberpunk, that are essentially going to be rated so bad they're good, and that's it. But other than that, the movie section won't be too tough. But right now, the most important thing, I want books listed. I want people to be able to find novels, and yeah, comics and manga as well. I want that to be found, especially since I put up the About section yesterday, and let me share this, because I think the About section kind of explains where I'm going with this and why it's so important I get the novels and comics and manga posted first. Let's see. Quickly checking to see if anybody has asked if they want to come on. Because again, I've still got an open invite if anyone wants to hang out with me. I'll just send you a link. Okay, David Jack, a cyberpunk version of James Bond would work, and there have been. While he's a bit more of a private eye, there's the Matthew Swain series. Actually, give me a second. Interestingly enough, David Jack, there are a few archetypes that are common to the genre. And believe it or not, detectives, again, are not the most common, which is weird, because that's what everybody thinks. Cyberpunk, usually the protagonist is either a hacker, a mercenary, or a detective. And while the hacker thing is a bit true, not as many detectives as you'd think. Definitely a lot of hackers. A lot of stories feature drifters, but then there are also a lot of stories about cops and government agents that are kind of James Bond types. Now, believe it or not, especially the TV series, Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex does begin to drift into being an espionage show. Now, it doesn't have a James Bond vibe to it, no, but it's the same kind of work. But let's see, let me get a few of them. Okay. Yeah, the Matthew Swain series by Mike McQuay definitely falls into that category. Even more so, I mean, point blank, it's not even sort of, kind of, it is James Bond and cyberpunk is Mick Farron's book called Vickers, and it's listed in Golden Age Cyberpunk, so you can find it there. I've even got the cover on the catalog screen so you can see it. But yeah, Vickers by Mick Farron. I'll post that in the chat right now. That is a James Bond cyberpunk type story. Okay, give me a second. Now let me... there's definitely even more of them in the second wave, but there's also a series that I'm very interested. I haven't read it yet, called Nylon Angel, that falls into that category as well as kind of a secret agent in a cyberpunk setting. What's her name? I want to give you the author's name so you can find it. Here we go. It's French. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that. I'm sorry. And there are 3 of these books. I've just put it in the chat. Nylon Angel is definitely in that genre. Okay, if I can think of any more off the top of my head, it's a little hard to grab these immediately while I'm talking to you guys, and I don't like leaving dead air. And by the way, there was A View to a Kill in the 80s, which almost could have been a cyberpunk type film if it hadn't got confused in the second half. The first half, it really was going in a modern day cyberpunk type direction with its plot with Zorn and everything. And then it got kind of confused in the second half. The first half of the film's more enjoyable. Although it's got Christopher Walken as a bad guy. That's reason enough to see it, right? All right. John's working. All right. Well, maybe another time. Oh, hey, did you see the... Oh, you're not on Twitter. I made a meme of Tubin, and I took the old logo from the TV show Crank Yankers, and I put his picture on it. Live, or it was the best uncensored prank calls. Crank Yankers with Tubin. Power Rangers. I got a story idea from Power Rangers Mystic Force. Sorry, but that's you're gonna have to ask Kat. That's after my time. I think that started in my junior or senior year of high school, so I wasn't really watching that kind of stuff. And then I was in college. Is Gridman cyberpunk? Gridman, I'm not familiar with Gridman. That's another thing I want you guys to do. If I miss anything, you've definitely got to tell me. Creech, huh? Speaking of Cyberpunk 2077, have you checked out the cosplay? Oh, yeah, the cosplay is great. Yeah. I think I know, was it Octura or Octura? The one woman from Russia who does those incredible cosplays with her boyfriend, yeah, as well as the Japanese ones. But that one Russian cosplayer is amazing. Some night we should do a story slam, people. Message ideas, words, subjects, names, anything. Yeah, give me a day, John. Give me a day, we'll do it. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do any of our regular shows with Kat other than Adventures in Awful because she is way too busy right now doing the paperwork for the house. And she's the one that likes to do the paperwork. She's got the legal mind, so she does that. And then she's also finishing up school, so she doesn't have a lot of time to go on air. So until that's all settled, I don't know when Kat's going to make regular appearances again. Which is a shame because she's the main attraction, right? She's the one that says the really perverse stuff and everyone laughs. Okay. Funny thing is she lives in Australia. Yeah, I saw that. I saw Nylon Angel and I was going to buy it because I read the first couple of pages and figured out with the Dingo Men that she was an Australian writer. Um, and then it became very abundantly clear to us that the used bookstore we'd gone into was not only woke, they had divided up the books in a way to favor women, and they've pushed all the male writers off to different sections, and that had a big shrine to Joe Biden in the front, and everyone in there was woke. And it's like, you know what? Fuck them. I'm not giving them my money. I'll buy it off Amazon. Because, yeah, I wasn't going to give them money. Which is a shame, because I really want to read it. I have an outline for a robot tentacle monster hero romance. That'll sell. That I wrote a few years ago while drinking with friends. It's also not awful. I'm thinking my drunk writing is better than you know, a lot of writers produced great works drunk. I will admit, World War Kaiju was written tipsy. It was the only period in my life in which I drank. I'm a kind of a teetotaler. I don't drink. But that was a very, very bad year when my grandfather died. And so World War Kaiju was pretty much written with me either having some rum next to me or more likely sake. Sake is dangerous, by the way. Gridman is known as Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad. Maybe. I would have to check out the Japanese version. Being on Ishicast that got pulled by YouTube is a badge of honor. Yeah, you know, they just out of nowhere just put it back up, I think yesterday. I challenged it. I said, can you tell me what exactly is wrong with it so I can avoid it in the future? And then it went back up. I drank a few White Claws and tweeted out Transformer horror story, mostly from the perspective of a Transformer or living robots, not necessarily Transformers. That works too. Oh. Okay. Yeah, it's Octuro. That's her name. Octuro Limos Heli von Valentine. Those are the one. Yeah, I'm familiar with the cosplays by Octuro that are just utterly amazing. Anime Acid Trip. Welcome to Ishii's stream, lads. Today's Ishii's stream. Wolf 10 creates an entire army harem. Today on Ishii's stream, Wolf 10 creates an entire army harem of wolf, cat, and cat girls to take over California. Owen fights Biden. Rico becomes the dictator for the day. Yes, you were so good at distracting me from work. Good night. I hope. Okay, hey, you take a good get what you need done, man. Take care, man. Dun, dun, dun. Surprised none of you want to join the stream, huh? All right, so I was going to read this. I've recently posted the About section of the Cyberpunk source code online, and I think it's the best explanation of why I felt the need to put the site up in the first place. So now we will become very scripted. The mission for Cyberpunk Source Code Online is to provide a comprehensive database of cyberpunk media. In recent years, as cyberpunk becomes more mainstream, pop culture pedestrians and cancel culture have begun to obscure the true spirit and ethos of the movement. The internet is littered with cyberpunk fan sites making ludicrous claims, such as Margaret Atwood being part of the first wave of cyberpunk authors when she published The Handmaid's Tale. And don't get me started on the lit RPG genre. Cyberpunk is a culture, a genre, and a point of view defined by the following points: high-tech, low-life, information must be free, anti-authoritarianism, and punk rock's DIY ethic and fuck you attitude. In this age of in this age of ignorance and historical revisionism, we're seeing these principles paved over with bizarre notions like cyberpunk. In this age of ignorance and historical revisionism, we're seeing these principles being paved over with bizarre notions like cyberpunk being inherently anti-capitalist or even communist. If these people had ever bothered to read Walter John Williams' Hardwired or Charles Pratt's The Silicon Man, they would know there's always been a strong libertarian streak within the genre. Likewise, claims that cyberpunk has always been woke show how little these new fans have actually bothered to read the novels that birthed the movement. If they had, they would have been aware of the short story RU4182, in which Bruce Sterling savagely lampoons radical feminism and overzealous activists, or the less than favorable portrayal George Alec Effinger gives Islam in his classic When Gravity Fails, or the fact that K.W. Jetter's Dr. Adder is probably the most politically incorrect novel ever published. Cyberpunk is visceral, gritty, bleeding edge, and doesn't give a damn about modern-day speech codes, trigger warnings, or validating anyone's identity. Rebels don't start massive campaigns to insist big government enforce totalitarian laws governing what we can do and what we can say. And they certainly don't spend hours on the internet trying to get things canceled. That's about as un-cyberpunk as you can get. More importantly, though, I started this site up because I was tired of seeing the best of cyberpunk's books all feature the same 5 novels. Altered Carbon, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, Ready Player One, Neuromancer, Snow Crash. Sure, these are amazing books. Well, mostly. But there's a whole world of first and second wave cyberpunk authors out there that seems to have been forgotten. Well, I haven't forgotten them, and you'll find their novels cataloged here and ready for review. Okay, so that's the mission statement. I think that pretty much sums up why I made the site. All right, let's see if anyone's got anything to add. I'm glad, Lincoln, that they're defending Chris Pratt, that MCU actors are defending Chris Pratt from the SJWs. This woke shit's got to end. It's time for this cancel culture, just everyone to tell them to fuck off. I don't even know why we humored them to begin with. Okay, we got Owen Wanson. Give me a second, Owen, and I will send you a link. Oh, yeah, I saw that with 50 Cent. Okay. Give me a second while I get Owen a link, everyone. So what else has been going on with you guys? Oh, wow, I've been on. Okay, Owen, we're only going to be on for a little bit longer. I didn't realize we're going on an hour here. But we will definitely get you a link. But I really do like John's idea of a slam section for ideas where we just all start brainstorming and sharing ideas. That could be a lot of fun. Okay. DMing you now. Okay, I have DM'd you a link, Owen. Come join me. Okay, so out of curiosity, I'm just kind of wondering, can you guys actually hear the fountain in the background? Because, yeah, I've got a fountain in this room that I've run, and Okay, and it looks like we have Owen with us.
Hello, everybody.
What's going on, Owen?
Oh, nothing much. I mean, I just I got home from work and everything, and I'm just sitting here and chilling out. Then I saw you were live, and I'm like, oh, he's a little earlier than usual. Sweet. So I thought I'd pop in.
Cool, very cool. So now that it's just you, and I don't have to have you and Wolf talking over each other, because I mean, it was kind of, hey, what's up? Oh, hi. Hey there. It was very hard to, you guys have a tendency to talk over each other when you're together. So now that it's just you, I want to ask,
Yeah.
Guyver.
Oh yes. So much to talk about there. Well, yeah, like I said, well, Wolf and I did do like our little rewatch of the 2005 to 2006 anime series, so you can check out that. And we also did Guide for Dark Hero, which I still urge you to watch because it's so much better than the first one.
So, what was the attraction? What is it about Guyver that makes you not just a fan, but literally obsessed?
There's so many things. Well, like I said, when my mom remarried after my first dad passed away and everything. So her and like my stepdad, they were out on their little honeymoon and everything. So it was just me and my grandma. And so, and online, what I usually do is sometimes one of my favorite things to do is watch movie trailers for old films, sometimes for B movies, just to get an idea what they're about. And sometimes after these suggestions, I'm always getting this thumbnail that of this one movie that somebody uploaded, and it was Guyver Dark Hero. But the thumbnail was just Guyver's back to me with his blades out, and then you see like blood coming down his back, and it's always been popping up. And I was just like, what is that? And then I see the title, so then I look up the trailer, and then I realize, oh, it's a sequel to the first film. So I look up the first film because at that time I was like, okay, so see the first one, just then I'll see the second one. Watch the first one. Ooh, boy, that was a rough one to see.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, have you seen it?
The second one?
No, the first one with Mark Hamill.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so yeah, you know what I mean. It was
yeah.
that was rough. So I was a little like, you can say, lowered my expectations for Dark Hero quite a bit. So then when I watched Dark Hero, I was like, oh, I'm pleasantly surprised. This is actually quite good. Even stands better on its own. And then after that, I looked up the anime and then I read a little bit of the manga online. And ever since then, it's just been my it thing. And at the time, I was still getting into anime. Like I've seen Cowboy Bebop and Trigun and Dragon Ball Z at that time, and Porco Rosso. So I was still a little bit newish to the anime scene, but definitely it was Guyver that somehow spoke to me so much more than the others.
So, yeah, you've told me how. You didn't tell me why, though. Why does it speak to you?
Um, it's a
I
lot.
mean, the guy goes into a biological suit that sticks onto him. I
Yeah,
mean, from my perspective, it really does strike me as kind of a very classic superhero tale, but just with a kind of a Japanese 80s ultra violent, ultra cool paint job.
yeah, that's definitely one reason. Yeah, because it definitely had the similar route. Like I would compare it to something like Spider-Man, especially with the whole symbiotic suit bit, but with more weaponry like Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
While at the same time, our main character Sho, who's actually a very likable and uh, like in a lot of ways more heroic kind of character than what you would expect in something like Guyver. That's this violent show. I just love it so much because of that. Because he's not like it's not like compared to say with Guyver 3 from the anime, who was much more of an anti-hero and had his own goals and everything. But with Sho, he just felt so genuine to me. And plus, you can say I'm very much a sucker for like the whole underdog character type.
Well, that makes sense. Actually, one thing that is kind of interesting is that, and this, oh, somebody says that you should turn your mic up, Owen.
Oh,
Um,
it's up as much as it can be. I'm on my
oh,
phone.
okay. Oh, well, Neostar wants to know, so there's no rapping Zoanoids in the sequel? And no, there aren't. They
No,
they do
thank
not have
goodness.
J.J. Walker doing a rap. But
Full.
yeah, that I think was a probably a new low for anime spin-off films.
It was, I
Was
think.
having Jimmy J.J. Dynamite Walker as the rapping pimp Zoanoid. I mean, at that point, you've got to wonder who thought this was a good idea.
Brian
Seriously, who
Usna.
thought it would be a good idea, one, to get, oh God, I've even forgotten what his real name was in Good Times, but to get him
Yeah.
in a film based on a Japanese manga, ultraviolet manga, make him a villain that looks about as goofy as Jar Jar, make him a pimp, and then make him rap. That's a special kind of fuck up there. That is
Yeah.
ambitiously bad.
I think what it was is that the producers, because the director Steve Wang, he actually wanted to be more faithful to the source material, but we all
Oh,
know
is
the
that Moonlight Entertainment's fault?
I think that was New Line Cinema that helped with that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the first film came out a year right after the first Ninja Turtles movie came out, so they thought we can do the same with this one. And that's why it failed. They tried to be like the Ninja Turtles, but instead you get like this really awful tonal whiplash.
Yeah, you do. You absolutely do. I mean, I do have to agree. The second one was far. Jimmy J.J. Walker. Yeah, it was far more enjoyable.
Oh yes, especially because in the sequel, also in the fight scenes were much more better because they were choreographed by Koichi Sakamoto, who did most of the fight scenes for Power Rangers.
Did not know that.
Yeah, definitely should look up Guyver versus Guyver Zoanoid. It's like that. It was awesome. Every time I watch that, I get so hyped up and nerd out. I mean, just look up when Wolf and I did a rewatch of Dark Hero.
Well, one thing that I wanted to bring up that Kat and I have always wanted to do a show on it, we just never seem to find the right time to do.
Yeah.
Is I would pile Guyver into a selection of animes that I thought the West could really learn from. Right now, I mean, well, we've been saying this from the early 2000s that the concept of the superhero needed to evolve, that Marvel and DC especially had lost their way, and they just kept getting worse and worse. And there was this constant deconstruction of superheroes.
Yeah. I've been noticing it more and more.
Meanwhile, and they kept saying, well, video games and TV, kids, just aren't into reading anymore. It's like, excuse me? Have you seen the sales on manga?
Yeah.
Excuse me? You see the money Tokyo Pop was making? It's like, holy shit, you got to be kidding me. The kids don't read. And what it was no, it was just the stuff that the mainstream big two comics publishers were producing just wasn't cool. Nobody wants to read a weepy, half-assed deconstruction of a character that was, meaningful to everyone and classic in the 90s or further back, all the way up to the 40s.
Yeah.
And then just see kind of this half-baked version. And Kat and I started noticing the Japanese seem to have really taken the concept of the American superhero and given its own unique paint job. And we always thought, if these guys were paying attention, if Marvel and DC were truly paying attention, because they always said, we were doing it to get female readers, they would have noticed the most influential and far-reaching superhero of the last 30 years was Sailor Moon.
Oh, yes.
Globally speaking, everyone's heard of Sailor Moon. To this day, people love Sailor Moon. Sailor Moon has had a massive influence on animation, comics, just how stories are told in general. And Marvel and DC, meanwhile, are making shit like the Plain Janes.
Oh, yeah.
And the regifters and thinking, well, yeah, this is what girls like, right? It's like,
nope.
And meanwhile, there's also, Guyver, He is
Yes.
essentially a biological version of Iron Man.
And Spider-Man a bit too.
Yeah. Then you had, one of my favorites, all the various Ultramans. Ultraman is almost a retelling, or I don't know, precursor, I don't know which one came first, of Green Lantern, down to the fact that
Ah.
his powers come from a guy on another planet. At the end
Yeah.
of the first season, Ultraman's boss comes from the planet to tell him what he's doing wrong and scolds him.
Oh. Yeah.
I mean, it is, and you find out that the Ultraman Corps is essentially like their galactic police. How is that not Green Lantern?
Yeah, that is quite similar. I always thought of Ultraman as more like Japan's answer to Superman.
Well, he is. I mean, he is their Superman.
Definitely.
But the story is more in line with, well, Green Lantern. But yeah,
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of interesting. You look at the different countries and what their equivalent to Superman is, because we have Superman.
Yep.
Japan, it's Ultraman. Mexico, it's El Santo.
Hmm.
I mean, it's kind of interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, everyone has their Superman.
If anyone can tell me what they are in other countries, because I'm sure the Europeans must have one, right?
Must be one.
Okay, is there? But no, so I was just thinking, Guyver is a great example. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you about it, is that he's like, there's so many things. Why can't we do that with our comics? Why is it
Yeah, I
that
would love.
Marvel or DC can't look at that and say, okay, that's how you make it cool?
Yeah, like I had an idea like how I would like reboot the whole Marvel universe in general. And like I said,
Well, first, you erase everything
yep.
at 2000.
Yeah, that was like my first job was like, okay, the first thing we're gonna do is scrap this whole mess of a continuity and we're gonna start from scratch. We're gonna go all the way back to the 1940s where Captain America made his scene, and we'll start from there. And another idea I had was like do it just like how you do it in manga and have it be more of a ongoing story, kind of like how MCU started, and we have like different eras.
Well, what you're really talking about is going back to Go, taking all the best elements of the continuity
Yes.
and making it make sense and make it a long, coherent storyline, so there aren't the contradictions or the weird twists, and
Yep.
have it unfold in kind of a logical manner rather than making it up as you go along.
Oh yeah. I mean that's what makes like One Piece successful. It's still ongoing. Like the anime itself started in 1999, and they're up to like 900 episodes right now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean I haven't seen the anime myself because like there's so many episodes to catch up. I don't think I'll be able to, but I might check out like the first half at least.
Hold on, I've got to write something here. Go ahead and continue talking.
Yeah, but yeah, like I said, like with One Piece, like that one is definitely very popular. I think still in Japan and still with other people, and like the manga is still being made. Like what I've heard from someone who reviewed it, they said that like the author described One Piece basically like he has the beginning and ending in mind. He's just trying to fill out what's in the middle to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And the best way I can describe One Piece, it's a pirate story with a lot of weird stuff in it. Like our main character named Luffy, Monkey D. Luffy, that is his name. He has stretchy powers. A bit similar to, say, Miss Marvel, but it looks a little cooler.
Stretchy Miss Marvel doesn't have stretchy powers.
I meant Kamala Khan.
Oh. See, I don't even. Yeah, that's Kamala Khan. Oh God.
Yeah.
Ugh, Jesus.
Except like what others? Except like with Luffy, he doesn't only stretch; he can also turn some of his limbs into iron.
Okay.
Yeah, from this magic fruit he ate once. And then there's like other characters that like turn into basically like anthropomorphic animals. And then there's like I think sea people like fishmen or something like that, and like a whole lot of other stuff. Like there's a character named Zoro who can fight with 3 swords, 2 in his hands and 1 in his mouth.
Interesting. Okay, so Casca52 made a very, very good point. Ultraman would be the best equivalent to Superman in that he is essentially a national symbol for them.
Oh,
But
yes.
Japan, yeah, she's right. Their first legit superhero is Golden Bat. Are you familiar with Golden Bat?
Oh, I've heard of him. Yeah, I saw like a video on Golden Bat. That is an interesting looking character.
Yeah, do you remember who put that video up? Because the audience needs to go check that video out.
I forget the YouTuber's name, but
Yeah, because I think I saw the same video.
yeah, but when I saw the video on Golden Bat and everything, I'm like, wow, they had a different vision on what a superhero is like. Like, he doesn't look anything like Batman. Like, I was expecting Batman but golden, but no, it's a laughing
Golden skull. Yeah, he has a skull for a head. Okay, for audience, when the show's over, go check out, just punch in Golden Bat and see what you can find. Golden Bat is incredible. He's this caped hero. He's got a gold skull. His powers seem to be whatever the episode needs. The thing is insane. I mean, he's constantly laughing like a madman. It is a fever dream to watch. It's even really kind of hard to tell at times what the hell it's about. But it's just watch it. It is worth seeing. And I believe he's public domain, which makes me want to do something with him. But yeah, Golden Bat is a very interesting piece of history.
Yeah, I just love the design of it. It's so unique in a weird way.
Well, I don't know. For me, the fact is he does really horrible, brutal things to the villains, and he has this weird look on his skull face, and you go, oh! Every time, what the hell is that? And I mean, the logic, the physics doesn't seem to make any sense in the world.
I love it.
Anime acid trip. Don't even get me started on Magical Girl Friend Squad. Oh God!
Oh,
They claim
I actually watched the first episode of it because I was curious.
They claim they're parodying Sailor Moon, but all they did was make the show feel like they hate anime in general.
It definitely.
You know, I don't think CalArts graduates are capable of making anything respectful.
Yeah.
They just shit on everything else. So you actually subjected yourself to this hell.
Well, yes.
Somebody told us Kat and I to do it, and
like
we don't have cable, so we can't anyway. But we kind of didn't want to.
Well, you can watch it free online. They have the first 2 episodes for free. I think as their own way of advertising. But like the first episode was enough for me to be like, yeah, no, thank you.
Do you think it's something that I could actually rip and then chop up and re-edit to make fun of?
I mean, I think you could find something to make fun of. I mean, for me, the best way I can describe it is just, well, it kind of felt lazy. And a little bit dated, oddly enough, too. Like we have these 2 roommates. Like, one is a lesbian that smokes pot, and the other's a black woman looking for a job. It's kind of all I know of them right now. And then when they walk into their apartment, a talking red panda, who is a goddess of the universe and whatnot, and oh boy, explaining.
You already sound like you're feeling pain just talking about it.
All right. This is going to be tough to describe this. In order for her to explain what's going on, basically she tells the 2 girls to stick their fingers in her.
Oh God, really?
Yes.
You don't have to go any further.
Turn and cough kind of routine. It gets worse when the black girl reaches for her glasses and there's like pink sparkly stuff on it. It was nasty, and I was just like, is this the best you guys can do?
That's another thing. They can't seem to go past that kind of humor.
No, they can't.
South Park was lewd.
Yeah.
South Park did plenty of really, really edgy,
nasty stuff.
Yeah, but at no point did you feel like they were taking a cheap out.
No, it seems like over time they evolved more into more political satire than anything.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, even Do you remember the one where they were making fun of? There was that whole era of young female celebrities that were all essentially becoming degenerate whores. You had Paris Hilton and Lindsay Lohan, and
Ah,
you remember all that?
I
And they
might.
were all seemingly trying to outdo each other.
I might have. I don't know. I mean,
Or are you too
I
young
never
for that?
watched the show, but like I know of like.
No,
What
no. This was actually in real life. But do you remember when that was
Oh,
happening? You might be too young for that. I don't know.
yeah. I think I might have been way too young for this. I don't
This
really
was in
watch.
the early 2000s mainly. And
Yeah, I was quite young way back. It's like, what year was it?
I don't remember, but I remember South Park did an episode where they were making fun of that.
Oh, okay.
And they were competing with, I believe, the bus driver to see who was the bigger whore.
Oh,
And I think Butters crawls up into her vag and dies. But
oh,
you see, that isn't what's funny about it. It's the fact that it's happening. It isn't, hey, look, we did something disgusting. It's the context. And
yeah,
so much of this, you know, I guess, locker room toilet humor that these CalArts animators think is funny is just penis.
yeah.
That really
Basically,
isn't funny. There's no
yeah,
context to it. It's not funny, guys. Hey, she touched her vagina. Um,
yep.
that,
That pretty
that's all
much
you
all
got
of it.
for me, huh? Yeah,
Yeah.
well, can't
Oh,
imagine where you can go next with that great revelation.
yeah. I mean, there's so many other things that in that show or in that first episode that also was just like jarring. I mean, first off, like the animation wise, it was just not good. Like they had
Well, they have the Adventure Time, not Adventure Time,
the Steven Universe
Steven
bits.
Universe style, doesn't it?
Yeah. The thing is, like, if you're going to, parody an anime, you at least have to have the look down. Like, the two main characters have it a little bit more, but the others is not so much. Like, there
Mm.
is this, like,
Well, that's
one.
hard to do.
Yeah, it is quite
You're
hard.
asking them to put effort.
Yeah. And the thing is, too, like, I get, like, like if you want to do like parody like a genre, I mean like anime's been parodying like genres like shonen and anime for quite a while. Like they've been doing it longer than we have.
Well, speaking of which, do you remember when South Park parodied DBZ? That was
You know,
one of the best episodes.
I think I saw like little bits of it on YouTube and it was like, huh,
It was
that's funny.
great. It
But
was
I love
really good.
yeah, I even love the fact how like
But you could
they're
tell they loved anime.
yeah, they were like, they were, all pretending and like you see like the South Park version and then you see it in like
Yeah,
their eyes and it's like all shonen style and everything.
exactly. It's them fantasizing that they're these anime warriors like DBZ.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And
that was great.
yeah, that's
Um,
how you do it. There was al-
okay, got a
there was
few
also
comments here.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wolf mentions that the Philippines have a hero named Darna, which I'm going to have to look into.
Hmm.
I'm always interested in superhero continuities from other nations. I think I find that fascinating because it says
Yeah.
about the culture.
That is
Uh,
interesting.
Jorgamund writes, Marvel DC can't write heroes because they don't believe in heroism anymore. They believe in
Yeah.
victimhood and self-righteousness and self-validation. But yeah, you're right.
All ingredients for a villain.
Magical Girl Friendship Squad is a shit on. Yeah, it is on the magical. Yeah,
Yeah. I would definitely say Kill la Kill did a better parody of Sailor Moon.
um, Mr. No, I want to do an alternative universe take where it takes place in real time. Until recently, when it went off the rails, Judge Dredd took place in real time. The comics from the
Oh.
70s till recent, and he
Him-
aged in real time. It's great, and you
He's an
see
old
him
man.
change. Yeah, he is an old man now. And a lot of the books had been focusing on him realizing his days were numbered,
Ah,
which
that's
is kind of
cool.
cool.
A little bit like I'm 2 days from retirement.
Well, he's realizing that he's not always going to be there, and that no matter how hard he tries, he's never going to be able to keep the city in order forever.
Oh, sounds like there should have been like a cool, epic, like old man Logan type story to sort of wrap up Dredd's arc and maybe set up a new judge.
There was a hint that they were going to do that,
Oh,
in
that would
which
have been a great continuation on that. Yeah.
but there was a subplot where at one point they did retire Judge Dredd and had his clone replace him,
Mm.
and he fails. I don't want to ruin it. It's a great twist, but they may do that again because it
Ah.
turns out Dredd is a clone.
Oh, the old clone bit.
And that well, he's a clone of the very first judge, and he finds out later that he's actually better than the original, and they've tried to repeat the process, and that only produced an evil twin, and then another one that just wasn't as good as him.
You're kind of describing the '90s film, actually.
The 90s film was loosely based on that arc in which Judge Rico
Yeah.
the comic is so much better than the film. Oh god, that film was an
imagine.
embarrassment. Looked neat though.
Yeah, I actually did remember watching that one with Sylvester Stallone on Netflix, and I was like, it's kind of dull for a film that's supposed to be like R-rated, but it felt more like PG-13 and just kind of safe.
And dull. Yeah.
Yeah, dull. It's like.
Did you see the one that was recent?
Oh yeah, Dredd with Carl Urban. That one was pretty awesome.
That was excellent.
Yeah,
that was really impressive. I was so
to me, I
pleased with
was
that.
like, yeah, this is what Judge Dredd was supposed to be more like.
Yeah. Well, that one actually had the creator's approval.
Ah, that's
okay.
Good. Yeah.
It was Kenny Lauderdale for the Golden Bat video. Yeah, everyone afterwards go check out this Kenny Lauderdale video. It's a lot of fun, very interesting. You learn a lot. Damn, all these references to the nobody brought up Kamen Rider.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
right. Kamen Rider is another superhero. You're gonna have to scold me. Maybe you can come on sometime, Neostar, and educate me. I don't know anything about Kamen Rider. I just don't. I have no exposure to it.
Oh, I studied a little bit of a history on Kamen Rider. It's quite interesting. I mean, I forget the creator's name right now, but he was also responsible for Super Sentai, aka Power Rangers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was a manga artist way back in like the 60s and 70s. And the idea of Kamen Rider was from like this little horror manga he did called Skull Man, where it was about this like anti-hero on like this sort of mission of revenge, and he like kills anybody, and I just mean anybody that gets in his way. He doesn't matter who it is. So he figured we can adapt this story for kids, because like in his interview, he said that like he wanted to make a show to scare kids. Though they saw the source material and they said this might be a little bit more violent for a kids show, so they sort of stepped it back a bit and changed Skull Man into Kamen Rider, and that's how you get Kamen Rider, based off a horror manga, or loosely based off of one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, Kamen Rider came first before Super Sentai. So if it wasn't for Kamen Rider, you probably wouldn't get Super Sentai.
Okay, I'm trying to find. I've something's popped up in the chat here, and I'm trying to make sense what they're talking about.
Oh,
because people keep mentioning. Someone says the corn. Bar one says it was all about the corn, Ishii. And another person says that it was a pastiche of The Wicker Man and Shirley Jackson's A Lot. I think I've lost something.
Sounds like we missed an interesting conversation there.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh, did you also know that Japan did their own Spider-Man show in the 70s?
I had heard that was actually the birth of the Super Sentai genre, was that they had licensed Superman or Spider-Man and they'd done their own version. And that's where it actually started.
Yep, it did. like that's where the whole idea of them going into a giant robot started. Like there was a Sentai group, but instead of a robot, they just have like the big ultimate weapon that they fire to finish off the enemies. But it was the Spider-Man like show they did that introduced like, oh hey, we can have them in a giant robot and blow each other up, which that is pretty cool. I have seen, I think like the first episode of that Japanese show of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one.
Well, it was made in the 70s with Japanese television level effects.
Yeah, but
And
still, Spider.
it wasn't even a Subaraya production, so it didn't have his effects, which were amazing.
Ah,
Do you know about that? If
uh,
you don't, I totally get it.
okay, yeah, I don't think I do. Not
Okay,
really.
the reason that Ultraman looked so damn good for its time, because you look
Yeah.
at the other shows of the air and they're nowhere near as impressive, not even
Ah,
close. And the reason being is that E.G. Tsuburaya was the effects genius behind all the Godzilla films for Toho up to a certain point. He did all, he was the guy that made the suits. He came up with the ideas, the force perspective. He was the brains behind all the effects in those films, as well as a bunch of other stuff. But that's
nice.
generally that's where he was his claim to fame. He also actually was hired by Clint Eastwood, I believe, to do the effects for a movie about Pearl Harbor,
Oh,
because
that's
Eastwood
cool.
could not afford the planes, so they did it all in models.
That's awesome. I have
But
to look that one
when
up.
Yeah, but when E.G. Tsuburaya decided, you know what, I'm done. I'm sick of working with Toho. I got my own ideas. He started his own effects company, Tsuburaya Productions, and they also started doing shows.
Ooh.
And he said, okay, well, I want to make a show that is essentially everything a 7-year-old boy wants to see. I want to see a show that just takes everything that 12 to 7-year-olds love and just cram it into one show. So you have a
Oh.
show with superheroes and a science task force and spaceships and aliens and giant monsters, and that's where Ultraman came from.
Oh,
But
that's so
he
cool.
was doing all the design work and all the costuming and all the effects, so it had top-notch effects.
Hmm. Oh, all right, I'll have to check out the original show then.
It's fun. I mean, it doesn't have the polished look. I mean, that a lot of what you'd see now, but
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun. It's very funny, and I mean, it's meant to be kind of humorous. Ultraman likes to mess with the monsters while he fights them,
I love it.
which is kind of funny. There's definitely a pro wrestling element to it,
Oh, that's even better.
and then I don't know. It's also got a great theme song. We won't get it out of your head. Um, all right,
uh, well, yeah, like what I'm.
Scarlett O'Neill. Okay, fascinating treasure trove of 40s and superheroes heroines. Check out Invisible Scarlett O'Neill. Okay.
Hmm. Oh, I haven't told you like the best part in the Spider-Man show that I just
Okay. Well,
found
he had this.
hilarious.
Yeah, he was Stepeda Man. He had the Stepeda car, the
Yep.
robot. What else?
I think that was it. But like, what one part that just to this day, right now, think of the Spider-Man show from then, this was pops in my head. There was a point where he battles one of the monsters. When he first battles one of them, it's like basically the lizard, but with cybernetic parts on it. And then there was a point where like he grows, and so Spider-Man thought, you know what? I'm gonna try and take him down with my web. So he, shoots his web or rope at him, and there's a shot where the monster takes Spider-Man and like it's obviously like a little miniature doll and just swings him around and throws him across a mountain. And Spider-Man just gets up like it was nothing, like his bones weren't shattered or anything.
Of course, it's superhero logic.
Yeah, but it was just like, did I just see like a Godzilla cyborg whip Spider-Man around like a rag doll and toss him into a mountainside? I love this show. I even saw like little clips of it. Like there was a little clip I see like when people make a montage of Spider-Man. There was a point where I think he was in like a laboratory, and he like gets up behind the counter and he shoots a machine gun at the bad guys.
Well, he was the Japanese Spider-Man. He didn't follow Parker's rules.
Yeah, that's true, and it wasn't even Peter Parker. It was a guy who likes to ride motorcycles, who got his powers from a dying alien that came from a planet of other spiders.
Oh, well, that sounds a lot like Ultraman now, doesn't it?
Yeah, seems they decided to go with more like the Ultraman route than anything. Like, it was an interesting time. Like, and it wasn't just Spider-Man that Marvel let Toho do. Like, there was a point where they wanted to do like a Captain America show, which would have been pretty awesome. Kamen Rider, but with Captain America's colors. But instead, they decided to do like another like Sentai themed show where it was like I think they take like the elements of like Shield and some of the characters like Miss America from like way back, during the 40s with Marvel, and like one of the villains who they inspire, who was a direct inspiration from of Hela
Okay.
from like the Thor comics, and
Yeah.
that's kind of like what they did. They like take little bits from Marvel and then make it their own little thing.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it was a temporary partnership, which I think is a shame because like I would have loved to see what they would do with Captain America.
Yeah, that especially would have been interesting. Would they have made him Captain Japan?
Ooh, that would be pretty awesome. with like the Japan colors like red and white.
Exactly.
Instead of a shield, to be a katana.
Or no, he'd just get a robot.
Or yeah, a robot, and that shoots a giant disc, which is a shield.
All right. Well, we're going on almost an hour 30 here, so I want to go get some dinner. But hey, it's been cool hanging out with you.
Same. Oh,
And yeah.
Oh yeah. So like in the mail today, like I've been ordering some stuff off of Amazon. So like today I got the package of what I ordered, which was some new inking pens and some One Punch Man manga, My Hero Academia, and I got the first volume of Doro Hidoro.
Oh, cool.
Oh yeah, I flipped through that one, and like art-wise, I love it. Like it's
Oh yeah,
very
the
much.
art's amazing in that.
Yeah, it reminds me of the old school style of anime from like the 80s, the more like gritty, sketchy look.
The the anime does not do the art justice.
Yeah, I
It
saw
really
like
doesn't.
bits of it, and it was like, I think I'll check out the manga instead.
All right. Well, you guys all have a good night. Thank you for joining me, Owen. And
You're welcome. Good
you
to
all
be
take
here.
care. Okay, bye.
All right. See ya.
See ya.